Right.
Probably 200 something.
And the best thing for that person to have done with the 500 is invest in some type of course or learn some sales
to be able to generate money.
Exactly.
And I would put this on my board up here, and I was like, so again, the first bucket isn't what should I run off and invest in. It's like I have to increase my income.
Sure.
Because you investing little sums,
right?
I mean, it's a start, but
unless you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you work for the company for 40 years or whatever, yeah, you might be able to do something with it and everything. But
and that's the time compression. And so it's like I'm not knocking that.
Sure.
I'm just trying to teach what I've been defining lately as entrepreneurial investing.
Right.
My name is Gerald Peters, and every 3 to 4 months I host a private event at my home in the historic French Quarter of New Orleans. A group of like-minded people who want to do more, be more, and have more, and most of all, seeking financial independence. I call this meetup Life is a Trade because I believe life is a trade. And I try to bring in some special guests, people who've done it, people who own millions of dollars in real estate or stocks who've actually achieved financial freedom. Today, we're going to speak with one of those special guests, my good friend, Robert Biggerstaff. I hope you enjoy this interview. I hope you find it inspiring. Robert, like myself, is just an average blue-collar guy who found his path to financial freedom through real estate. All right. Yes. Welcome back to the podcast. Hey, so I'm here with my good buddy, Robert Biggerstaff. Robert, let him say hi. Let him know who you are, man.
Hey there, everybody. My name's Robert Biggerstaff, and I am a real estate investor.
Yes, he is. He if you guys go back a couple, trying to think of what month it is. I don't remember now, but he was on the podcast before, and you can hear a lot more about Robert's story. Robert's here for my event this Saturday, talking money flow, man, and Robert's in the money flow. We all know money flow's not just stocks. Money flow is all around us, and we're all in it whether we want to be in it or not. But yeah, I asked Robert to sit down with me and we could just talk, and he's an influencer and doing the YouTube thing, doing the Instagram thing. You're not on Twitter, are you?
No, I am not.
So yeah, tell me about that, man. How long you been posting on YouTube?
I've been posting, I think the channel's been up for about 2.5 years, and I'm very blessed and fortunate. I have 2 people in Pensacola that both have over 200,000 subscribers, and both of them happen to be real estate investors as well. And so we kind of hit it off, and I've been able to use them as a sounding board for some of my questions, as starting to get into doing the videos and everything like that. And one of them, his name is Brant Peacher, and basically he did a summary in after I had my 1 year, and he said, Robert Biggerstaff never asked me what camera to use, never asked me what microphone to use, never asked me any of those questions. You just asked questions about actual filming. And the whole thing is that he said he did 287 videos his first year and never tried to get any type of different equipment or anything of that nature. And he said he's been the only person that's ever asked me what I should do and did not immediately bring up getting expensive equipment. He said, everybody always says, what kind of video camera should I get?
That is true. When I get kids ask me about doing social, they usually get very technical.
Right.
Down in the, and it's like, well, have you put any content out?
Right.
We can fancy everything out as we go. Yeah, that's cool having an influence like that. I'm trying to think who I personally know. I mean, I know quite a few.
Personally, no. Not many, but I think that's how we all do social, right? We're learning from someone else.
Absolutely.
And same in real estate.
Sure.
I mean, I've invented nothing.
Right.
Have you invented anything?
98% of what you hear come out of my mouth, I hijacked from somebody else.
We in copywriting, we used to call those clip files.
Right.
We clip it, and it's like, no, that's not plagiarism. That's
right.
called good marketing. That's funny, man. And that's everything, man. You were asking me that, Robert, earlier. We're talking about stocks, and he asked me basically if the stuff that I do, did I create it? Where did I get it? And it's like, no, these are just
clip files along the way. I met a guy. Matter of fact, I was talking to this young kid last night, and he's 24, and I was really pressing on him to don't get 50 gurus.
Right.
Get one.
Right.
Get all you can get out of him.
Right.
To where you're literally repeating his sentences.
Sure.
And then add a second.
Right.
And that's what I did. I had a guy that I was just like, I used to drive my wife crazy with it. Like, I would go around quoting him and
Right.
reading him. And once I got everything I needed, I then like, okay, what else do I need to add to this? And I added another piece. And I've tried to do that with social too. That's so important because as I go look at, I keep saying kids, but when I say kid, I mean someone that's 20 or 30.
Right.
And they're following, way too many people, in my opinion, if the goal is to learn something. I think that changes as you mature and as you get older.
Sure.
But when you're young, man, it really helps you to narrow down. Like, they start with what? History 101.
Right.
Algebra 1. And then we'll get to calculus.
Right.
And I was encouraging him to do that. And, once he had everything for me to move on.
About social, so one day you're doing social, one day you're not, one day you are.
Correct.
Is this like where did this thought come from? Like you're eating dinner one day and you're like, I could do a YouTube video.
Yeah, kind of. I've always had that desire to help other people and to, share some of the knowledge that I have gained through, getting out in the trenches and actually physically doing the work,
Is that just pleasurable to you to say talk real estate, talk investing, or
is it like, you get...
Do you feel like you get more out of the teaching than maybe the person being taught?
I think we as men learn when we teach.
Right.
And so it's kind of a byproduct.
Iron sharpening iron.
Exactly. It ends up happening. And, some of the things that I notice with myself when I do a video and I put it out there and then I go back and watch it. And then the other thing that's really phenomenal is when somebody comes to you that's viewed your videos and said, hey, I've done that, and I've talked a lot about, just not making money, but also, keeping the mindset and staying healthy and out of toxic stuff. And, and I've had people that have, sent me a message on Facebook and said, hey man, I was going to end it today until you posted whatever quote it was. And they said, I appreciate that, and so
goosebumps, because that happens to me.
The thing about it is that when you can affect somebody like that, to me that's worth, all the gold in Fort Knox. I mean, there's nothing that replaces that.
You know what I think that is? This is how I've been describing that to myself, because I have these conversations with myself, like, I think I've talked to you about this. There's days I wake up and I think, I'm not posting.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
And then I can't help myself, right?
Sure.
And I post, and then I forget about that, whatever I was feeling. And I was talking to Chris Johnson about this, and he has a huge following. And I was like, man, I think some of this is rewards in the next world.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm crazy.
Right.
But, the Bible talks about crowns being laid up, and
Sure.
this and that. And a lot of religion talk about this, that maybe that's what we're getting from that is it may not be payment right now.
Right.
But it is payment.
Right.
That's due. Some people call it karma, whatever your belief is, but I think there's something to that.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then the boost, like I tell you, the kid I talked to yesterday, he was so excited to meet me.
Right.
And because I've had this impact on him.
Sure.
And then you feel that and you're like, wow, it's almost, they talk about a humbling moment, but it's almost too much to process at times. Like, did that really, really?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're
experience. There's a hand number of guys that radically changed the way I see life.
Sure.
And if I met them, I'd probably be like, oh my God, what am I going to say?
Right.
And then I would be fanboying,
Right.
And they'd be like, why don't you calm down a little bit?
Right.
But yeah, man, it is awesome. It's awesome. So that came out of this. I can use social to teach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so what, you did it first on YouTube or Instagram?
Yes, first on YouTube. And the thing that got me with Instagram is I started a motorcycle parts business. It was called FXRRobert.com.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my second, I call grown-up business that had a name, a website, a branding, and things of that nature. And there's a dude that lives in Brewton, Alabama. His name is Jordan. And he was like, man, you really need to get a website going. And I was like, man, it's too much trouble. It's thousands of dollars and everything. He said, less than $50, you can be selling parts on the internet within 20 minutes. And I was like, it's not that easy.
Can't be that easy.
Boom, he had it set up. And within 72 hours, I was selling parts and taking payments and shipping parts all over the world. Okay? And
Is that the first moment you realized this internet is something?
Yes, because Jordan told me, he said, man, the type of motorcycle we were dealing with was the FXR. It was a younger crowd. The younger people tend to gravitate towards Instagram. And so I was posting 30 pictures a day. I'd hijack every picture I came across of an FXR, and I would put it on mine, And, oh man, I had some people mad, because of me doing that and everything. And you need to give me credit and everything. I was like, whatever, man. And, and so, and ironically is that when I sold the business, I told them, you need to put up 20 to 30 pictures a day. They put 2 pictures up the first day, 1 picture the next week, and then within a couple of months, they were out of business.
Isn't that crazy?
And it was like overnight. Not overnight, but within probably 30, 60 days, there was 12,000 followers on the FXR Roger Instagram. Yes. Like wildfire.
Well, it caught on because I call that concept pushing your intent into the universe.
I was hammering it.
Right, you can hammer it, and I've me and my wife talk about this a lot. A lot of people say, well, you post too much. Okay.
I'm glad you noticed. Thank you.
Right. Don't watch it.
Right.
I'm gonna keep doing it.
Sure.
And all I know is I get results.
I've had 3 people pissed off at me this week alone having to do with posts that I put on Facebook because of money. And the one that got the most people is that financial problems rarely has to do with lack of money. It has to do more with bad behavior.
Yeah, they didn't like that?
No, they don't. But the great thing was it did what I wanted it to do. I got them to think.
Got them to think for a minute.
Yeah.
And even if they disagree with you, they had to think about it.
Sure.
And then maybe later they'll go, maybe that dude's right.
Right.
Ego's a big one, man, on the internet. People don't like to be wrong. And there's always that crowd that looks for a reason or excuse outside of themselves.
Absolutely.
Why something is happening.
Sure.
I've found almost every problem I've ever had is my fault.
Right.
If I sit and thought on it.
Sure.
I brought this on myself.
Right. And I'll tell you what happened with me one time is that, and this was about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It was 8 o'clock at night. I was standing in the front yard off Balin Street in Pensacola, and these 3 guys came around the corner. We were standing in the driveway looking at this guy's Sportster. They pulled out a gun and said, get on the ground. They robbed us at gunpoint.
Ooh.
And after the cops came and did all that and everything like that, I called a buddy of mine named Joe and said, Joe, this just happened. And he was like, well, what part did you play in it? I'm a victim. What do you mean, what part did I play in
I
this?
was just walking down the street. And he said, why'd you pick that street?
And what time of night was it? Was it well lit? That's not a great
Right.
part of town. And it was like, okay, well, now the honesty comes into play, and it's like, yeah, I did play a part
Right.
in this. Absolutely.
Right.
And I tend to find, and I don't know, there's a couple of real taboo subjects: sex, religion, and money, and how to raise kids.
Right.
And you're going to ruffle some feathers, and generally speaking, having to do with money is one of the big things, because it seems like everybody's got a reason on why they're not doing better.
Right. And about money, we're both investors, which we're trying to make money with money. That's what we do. Do you have a net worth goal? Like, do you ever sit around and go, okay, I want to be worth 10 million?
Not so
Or do
much.
you have a cash flow goal? How do you see it?
$75,000 a month is what I want.
I was repeating that to someone last night. I think I was telling him that I was telling my friend Robert wants, he wants to make. I told him 50.
Right.
I knew it was a lot, but it's 75.
Yes.
$1,000 a month.
Yes.
And average working people hear that and like, how is that even possible?
Sure.
And it's like not working a job. I mean, you work a job to get to
Right.
it, but that's not what it's coming from,
Sure.
right? This is going to come from leveraging ourselves. That was kind of my message to. I'm always trying to define my message. What is my message? If I could just sum it up.
Right.
And sometimes you don't want to make it too simple, but we could start there.
Right.
And I have this whole thing where I talk about getting the buckets right, and all that's common sense. People teach it. You got
Life's a trade.
Life's a trade. You got to have income, and you got this bucket over here. It's got a hole in it, and there's debt, and we got to plug that hole by getting rid of the debt. And then we move to savings, which is really protection. Then we get into investing.
Right.
And as I'm analyzing all that, I'm like, but that in and of itself, having good credit, no debt, is not going to make you rich.
Right.
It's part of the process.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, we got to have leverage.
Right.
And that's what a business does. That's what rental properties do.
Right.
It leverages us.
Sure.
And that's what stocks do. This guy's looking there. He thought it was sometimes they think it's a store.
Right.
And they'll be like looking in, trying to come in. Did you see that guy? They'll look in, oh, how pretty. It's how we leverage ourselves. And so if you just have a job, you have no leverage.
Right.
And I think that's the eureka moment when it comes to money. Then once you understand leverage, you realize it's unlimited.
Sure.
We're only limiting ourselves.
Right.
Me saying I want 20 properties. Okay, well, you could sign a piece of paper and get 50.
Right.
Why am I saying 20?
Right.
And that's, once you get into that, man, you realize there's no end to this.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Sure, absolutely.
If you're a lawyer, there's an end to that.
Right.
If you're a doctor, there's a day you can't be a doctor.
Yep.
And that's what I love about them, just money game, whatever you want to call it. You see a guy like Warren Buffett, he's almost 90.
Right.
Still doing it.
Sure.
And me and you can do what we do way into our later years.
Absolutely.
Which means when another guy's retiring at 65, we're just starting to make the big money.
Right.
Because of that leverage and compound.
Exactly.
It's mind-boggling. And we're both experiencing that now that we're 50. Like, we're waking up richer than we went to bed.
Absolutely. That's what I like.
Right. And people I don't think they understand this. And I spent the last couple of weeks talking time with people, trying to express to them time, how important. And I was giving the example, let's say you're a normal guy, you work 5 days a week,
Right.
take 2 days a month off. That's 8 days a month. Times 12 is 104, whatever it is, days a year. And then we add in Christmas, vacation,
Right.
every other fucking holiday people take. We're looking at 130 days a year
Right.
at minimum for the average guy. No money coming in.
Right.
Now, what if we made $100 on every one of those days?
Right.
Whether we went to work or not, we got $100. And you do that over 7 years. It's
Sure.
exponentially more money than a guy just doing the 9 to 5.
Right.
And so that leverage works against us too. And it's such an incredibly powerful thing when you can see it on a board. And
Right.
I wish I could express it even more, because as I began trying to narrow down what is my message in life, I think it's coming down to that. It's like leverage and time.
I had a lady, very young, mother. She was in her early 20s at one of my properties one time. And I'll never forget talking with her, because this is right as they passed the earned income credit.
Oh.
She was about to get like
Yeah,
a
I
$7,000 or
see.
$8,000 check.
Yeah,
okay.
I see.
And one of the things that you'll notice is, and this is also, I'm guilty of it just the same, is that poor people have money spent before they actually have money.
Right.
They already have it earmarked, okay? And you and I talked about this the other day about lazy money,
Right.
okay? And I told her, I said, look, if you'll take that money and invest it, and I said Southern Company, and you invest the next 4 years, you never touch that money, by the time you're 45, you'll never have to work another day in your life.
It's hard for people to understand that.
Well, not only did she disbelieve, but she was like, well, there's no way for me not to, I need to use that money.
Right.
And I'm like, but 2 years ago you were surviving and making it, and you didn't have it.
You didn't have it.
How did that happen? How did you all of a sudden get a $7,000 window in your life that requires, your attention?
Right.
And that was very hard for her to grasp. She didn't.
And it goes back to this principle where I try to explain I call it the abyss of money.
Right.
In my new ebook. I don't know if you've read that, and it's the abyss of money is like, I need all my money to survive. So you're in the abyss.
Sure. The
The trick to money is, I got $1,000 I don't need.
Right.
because now we can double it.
Right.
And if we can do that every month, you know, that's the trick to money, is having money you don't need.
Oh yeah, I'm a firm believer. The easiest thing you'll ever do is make money. Hardest thing you'll ever do is make it work for you.
Make it work for you. Yeah, that's a tweet there. And in the ebook, I talk about the idea of, if you could just get, like in her situation, just put it in, and we use the example of Southern because she's probably not going to run out and buy a property.
Right.
But she can buy Southern.
Sure.
As an example, and it pays a 5% dividend yield. She now has wealth.
Right.
Ownership, equity, we can get into all that, but she's got something paying her a little drip.
Right.
And the more she adds to that, and the more she doesn't need it, and then you add the concept of time, the leverage is she's getting money for not working.
Right.
And all these elements come in, and it's something so small. It was just a little amount. Now, once you can get your mind around that, if we can kick up that number,
Right.
and compress time, that's the this guy tweeted the other day, and it kind of irked me, but I know what he was saying. He said he was bragging about, while the market's going down, I'm putting $500 a month into my fund and I don't care.
Right.
I laughed. I'm like, $500.
Yeah. What do you expect?
I go to dinner and spend that. Like, I'm
Right,
laughing,
right.
and I posted that. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Sure.
And a lot of my followers were like, well, that's a lot of money to some people. And I was like, and that's why you're broke. Because you just said that to me.
Right.
That tells me where your heart is.
Right.
I don't care if you're homeless.
Right.
If I hand you $500, that's not a lot of money.
Right. It's not going to change their life.
At all.
Lasting. It
Right.
might for a day or two. They might get a room. They might get a shower, a hot meal, but it's not going to be lasting.
Yeah. And so he's putting in insignificant sum.
Right.
And then bragging about it. And and the guy's like, well, it's better than nothing. And I was like, well, and I was showing him on paper. So you do that, that's $6,000 a year. Well, what if I do $3,000 a month?
Right.
When we get to the end of the year, you got 6, I got 36.
Sure.
And if we're getting 10% returns,
Right.
and now we fast forward that 7 years. In 7 years, you just now got to the 36.
Right.
And I've got well north of 100 and something.
Right.
Probably 200 something.
And the best thing for that person to have done with the 500 is invest in some type of course or learn some sales.
To be able to generate money.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I would put this on my board up here, and I was like, so again, the first bucket isn't what should I run off and invest in. It's like, I have to increase my income.
Sure.
Because you investing little sums,
Right.
I mean, it's a start, but
Unless you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you work for the company for 40 years or whatever, yeah,
Right.
you might be able to do something with it and everything, but
and that's the time compression. And so it's like, I'm not knocking that.
sure.
I'm just trying to teach what I've been defining lately as entrepreneurial investing,
Right.
meaning aggressive investing.
Sure.
Every time we can level up on that, we compress time.
Right.
And so I don't want to invest $500, but I want to invest $5,000.
Right. Right. Because I look at it in the sense of that, retirement is 72. But every time that I make this investment, put money into the house, buy another house, or even, buy some more Southern Company, well, now that's 71. Now that's 70 and a half.
Right.
Now that's 70. Now that's 69. And that number backs up. And that number is going to be 55. 4 years, I'm done.
4 years, he's done.
And honest truth is I enjoy hustling and I love working.
Right,
okay?
so you'll keep going, but
Yeah.
it's a symbolic
Yeah,
thing.
but I'll probably sleep until 5 or 6 instead of up at 2:40 like I am now. But that choice is going to be
You
there.
can do it more like Rick Jarman did it. Rick would text me he's starting around 9.
Right.
And then he'd text me he's leaving around 2.
Right.
Oh, and I flipped 2 houses this week. And
Right.
I'm like, how the hell? He's like, he's got so much money coming in.
Sure.
That he's like, hey, you go here, I'm going to the pool.
Right.
And it, he was a huge inspiration on me.
Well, and that's ironically, I've got a gentleman in Pensacola that had 500 mobile homes at one time. Okay, you want to talk about turning some numbers? He was definitely doing it, and he told me, he said, Robert, it's pretty much going to suck until you get 10 properties. He said after 10, you start to get enough money each month that something's going to be left over.
Yes. Let me pause the video right there. People started to show up at my house. If you ever come join me at one of these live events, you're going to see we're going to shoot some YouTube video. We're going to do some podcasts in real time. I hope you get to come and enjoy it. Listen, if you don't have a copy of my free ebook, you don't have to die broke. All you got to do is click the bio link. Let's get back to talking to Robert.
That guy is grassroots
I'm
hustling.
fixing to book a call with him.
Right.
I looked into it, and it's not cheap, dude.
Sure.
$350 for 15 minutes. So I'm going to
$1,200 an hour. I'd pay it every day of the week.
He's the richest man in Florida. Sure. And I'm going to book it.
the triggers. I want to really explain to him my question and then
Right.
let him talk.
Sure.
And I don't want to go in there with a dumb question.
Right.
I want, like, it's a Yoda moment.
Right.
I'm sitting next to Yoda, and I want Yoda to, you know. So I'm trying to work out the way I'm going to say it to him.
Sure.
And so that's why I haven't moved on it too fast. But I'm going to book a call with him, and I'm going to ask him his opinion on my leveling up, you know, rolling my properties out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If he was me at my age, you
Right.
know, given that I'm not 30, I'm not whatever.
Right.
And then given that I teach stocks and that takes up a lot of my time, given I'm an influencer,
Right.
so I don't have all day to sit on construction sites,
Sure.
what direction would he go rolling
Right.
these properties out where I can continue to be an influencer, teach, run my thing, and manage my properties, you know?
Right. Right.
And just get his $1,200 an hour opinion, right?
Sure. Sure.
And just to roll that around against my own opinion and against other guys' opinions. And I've asked everyone I know that has legitimate properties, similar question, you know, to get their feedback. What would they do?
Right.
You only need one of that to save you $1 million or make
Sure.
you $1 million.
Sure. And I think $1,200 for an hour with that gentleman right there is an absolute
I'd
bargain.
prefer to
pay
do the
$5
hour.
grand.
I'd almost prefer to do the whole hour than to do it in a 15-minute thing.
Yes.
But it may be his time. We talked about this, I think I was with you, I was talking about that I've been trying to segregate my time. So like a third of my time is spent with, and I don't mean this like across the board, like 24 hours a day, but as far as I can't spend all my time with new people.
Right.
Like you're just getting started in real estate. Because
Sure.
it mentally can begin to stunt you.
Absolutely.
And I can't spend all my time with people light years ahead of me either.
Right.
And then, you know, and so I need to spend a certain amount of time with people just getting started.
Right.
A certain amount of time with people who are in the game and doing what I'm doing, and we're kind of on the same level.
Right.
And then a certain amount of time with people way above my level that maybe I can learn from and maybe, you know, get something from. And I've been trying to balance that. Because being a teacher and doing Instagram and this, that, a lot of my time is spent with brand new people.
Sure.
And you find yourself just kind of saying the same things over and over and
Right.
over. But that's being a teacher, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And trying to balance that. And yeah, you got to get a course. I think that would be good for you.
I actually started all of that, and I had a lady that I was going to do the courses, and she was going to host them on the website and all of that. And what I ran into was a situation where, and you talked about focus earlier, it was going to take me off the focus because that's when I had those 4 properties that were sitting. Okay.
Right.
And to film those and do all of that and everything, that was going to be a time-consuming endeavor.
It's almost like going backwards.
Exactly.
A lot of times people want me to partner with them, they want me to do this and that, and for me, it's going backwards.
Right.
And so I'm constantly trying to balance, okay, how does this play out over the next 5 to 7 years?
Right.
Does it take me further? You know, and it's just a balance of time. And there's some stuff that looks great. I'd love to do that. I just can't.
Sure. And it was like in March, you and I were talking, and I told you where I wanted to be at in 2 or 3 months as far as, you know, at the $25,000 a month mark.
And that was rent cash flow.
Yes, gross.
And you hit that, though.
Gross. I hit it this month.
Right.
Because of the
you
late
sent me
fee.
that video showing me because of late fees you hit.
Right, right. So here's the thing, though, is that increase due to the focus over the last 4 to 5 months has increased $5,000 a month, or $5,000 a month is what my gross has gone up. And so the thing is that it's like this is my bread and butter right now, and I've still got 2 units on that fourplex downtown that I need to get going. And so my thing is I get everything done, and then we'll be at a point where there's enough money coming in to do payroll, and so then I can have them doing maintenance issues, and then I can start to look at maybe possibly doing some other endeavors like the course.
Right. And I think one thing you're going to find with that kind of stuff, you're just going to have to just do it.
Yep.
And everything else just kind of, you know, and you'll feel like you're going backwards.
Sure. Sure.
And I have it too. You know, we're working on one called 0 to 1.
a real estate course, and it's because for me to stop and mess with it, there's no money in that.
Right.
Or I can go do this over here where I'm making money.
Right.
And it's compromise. You know, it's playing that out. So you hit the 25,000. That's great. The goal is 75,000. So you're 33% there.
Correct. And that was pretty wild when I thought about it 2 weeks ago.
That you're 33% to your goal.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so how many years do you think that takes?
Well, it's an exponential thing, like you talked about the leverage. That will
Right.
start to happen quicker because of extra money coming in. My next move is flipping houses, and I'm actually looking at 2 different deals right now that would help with that, so to speak, because I need to increase my cash flow. Just like you say, you need to increase your cash
Right.
flow. Flipping a house would do that for me. And then that'll give me extra money to put into properties to be able to buy more rentals.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's ironic because there's a guy that I know that he flips a lot of houses, and we were talking at Home Depot, and he's like, and I was like, man, that's what I need to do. You got it going on and everything. And he looked at me and he said, Robert, I've got to flip a house to get paid. You
Right.
get paid every month.
You get paid every month.
He said, I want to be where you're at.
Right. Yeah, owning properties is where it's at. I
Absolutely.
don't want money like big. Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of my money.
Right.
I'm always trying to put my money into shit that's going to give me money. And that's always the hang up I've had with flipping houses. Unless I could see a route to flip it to then buy more units or something,
Sure.
that makes sense. But
Sure.
just getting money is not what I want.
Right. Well, and that goes back to that whole thing about, there's an infinite amount of money in the universe. And the thing is that, just like what you talked about, I was a prison guard and I started cutting grass, okay, and everything. Well, you took that money out of circulation and then put it into a different circulation
Right.
somewhere. As long as we keep it to ourselves and then we start spending it on other stuff, we never see the benefit from it. You never grow, you never get houses, you never get stocks, and therefore you're still working for the man.
Right. So that's beautiful. We probably should wrap it up from there. We've got guests arriving for our event.
Cool.
I really do appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being here, and please understand, I don't care who you are or where you're at. If you're in this country, financial independence is available to everybody.
Yeah, I always say that regardless of age, race, or financial situation, anybody in America, I used to say could get rich. I kind of toned it down and say can find financial independence.
Sure.
I do believe they can get rich, though.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that's great, man. I appreciate it. Tell them where they can find you, Robert.
You can find me on Instagram on the Hustle Nation, and that's the YouTube channel as well.
Woo! All right. Hey, Money Flow Nation, you guys go check out Robert. He's the real deal. Doing a lot of work, owns a bunch of units, and if you're into real estate, he can help you. Good stuff, brother.
Yeah, man. Oh, right on.
I love it, man.
Yeah, there ain't nothing better when somebody sends you a message and say, I'm still here because of something you said.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Woo!
That's fun. Let me turn this off for now.